Hi everybody, it's me, Reedy, with another dollop of Beat the First Man. Coming up today, we hand out another 4D award. We have an absolutely brilliant How Old for you. Tales of the Unexpected is back, it's been a while. And on Zooming In, we're joined by musician and massive Wolves fan, Sam Lambeth, to talk music and footy. So, what are we waiting for? Roll the theme tune. So episode, the big 4-0 then people. Thank you again to all of you who have been here since the start. To any of you who are new to the show, please click on the subscribe down below. Give me likes at the end, get involved, put your comments in. Welcome on board the BTFM bus. There's one very important thing about this bus. It has one trip and one trip only. There's no retakes, there's no edits, there will be cock-ups. And in fact, if you watch the start of this week's Zooming In, there'll be some evidence for you right there. But the main thing is, hopefully you get a little bit of a laugh out of it and it's a bit of fun. So let's start with Stoke Gabriel kicking off the show this week. Bit quiet on the Stoke Gabriel front, obviously with their season ended and not a lot really going on. But I've just got a feeling in the next few weeks that we might have a little bit of news for you. All I'm going to say is watch this space for some more info. So we haven't forgotten about Stoke Gabriel, we're not casting them to one side, we're sticking with them. Remember what we said, as soon as their season starts again, the shirt will be back on. And the goal is to get down there and present some sort of show from down there. So that's still something we're looking to do. But yeah, hopefully some Stoke Gabriel news coming pretty soon. So the part of the show we all love, and of course it's How Old. Quite simply, we'll put a picture of a footballer on screen and all you have to do is guess how old he was when the photo was taken. So this week we head to Germany and a right back who stands at an imposing 6'2" tall. He started his career at lower league Lippstadt before making the switch to sign for Schalke. He was an ever-present in the Schalke 2, reserves to you and me. But what we want to know is when this photo of Henning Matriziani was taken. How old was he? Simple. Later on in the show we'll do the reveal, get your guesses in and see what you think. But for now, it's time to bring onto our screens the bear you have all been waiting for. How are you, Ted? Not too bad this week, really, Reedy. I guess I was a bit of a pain in the arse last week, wasn't I? A bit grumpy. To be fair, you were more than a bit grumpy, and you were more than a little bit of a pain in the arse. You were a right royal pain in the arse. Okay, Reedy, shall we leave it there? Yeah, I think it's probably for the best. What have you been up to with your week then, mate? Been to the pub, of course. Pubs are open. I've been sitting indoors, drinking, cuddling, licking people's faces. Licking people's faces? Why have you been licking people's faces? Because I can. I didn't see that on any lockdown restrictions easing. You can lick people's faces. You didn't look hard enough. Why would there be a bit about licking people's faces? It's not even a thing you would do in normal times. Speak for yourself. I'm a bear. Okay. So have you licked many people's faces? Tons. The girls love it. And the boys, to be fair. Okay, Ted. Anyway, shall we move on? Have you got any nominations for this week's Little Knob of the Week award? There it is. If you're new to the show, Little Knob, not dropped this week. I've got a winner for you. Oh, no nominations? Did you mishear me? I said I've got a winner for you. Yeah, I heard what you said, but have you got no nominations? For God's sake, third time lucky? I've got a winner for you. Okay, I'm guessing there's no nominations, there's just a winner. So who's won it then? Well, all I'm going to say is he's won it before. We've got a second time winner, Ted, of Little Knob of the Week, episode 40, and someone's won it for a second time. Yep, and well deserved too. Who is it then, Ted? Tell all. Big Sam Allardyce. Sam Allardyce has won it for a second time. Ted, what has he done to upset you this time? West Ham game, Michail Antonio, quotes, ringing any bells yet, Reedy? Yeah, I've got it now. So, if you haven't caught up with the story, so after the West Brom game, after the West Brom v West Ham game in midweek, Michail Antonio stated they knew how West Brom were going to play, long balls into the channel, Nothing new. You know what you're getting from a Big Sam team. To be fair, there's not really anything wrong with what he said. That is how Big Sam's team played. It's how West Brom have played. But Big Sam really did take exception to this. So I think it's this time where I have to dig out the quote so I don't get misquoted. No legal representation going on here. No win, no fee, really. Yeah, it'd have to be, I'll tell you that much. Anyway, so he wasn't. So what Antonio said was, this is what Sam Allardyce said. This is his quotes after the game. What Antonio said was disgusting. I haven't played like that for the last 6 or 7 years. It's a load of crap. It's all you boys talk about. So here's where it takes a twist. So having said that to the reporters, Big Sam decided to carry on talking, and he followed up with this. And I'm confused. We played long ball against Liverpool because it was the right way to play, and we should have got a result against them. They didn't like it. It shows if you play a simple game against Liverpool, you can get at them and get chances. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of little factors, shall we? Please do, really, get on with it. Okay, we'll just wait, patience. Haven't played long ball in the last 6 or 7 years. That's what Sam said. That was his comments, not mine, not Ted's. I didn't say it. It wasn't me. So, when did they play against Liverpool, Ted? West Brom? Last weekend. So 6 or 7 years ago. It's not even 6 or 7 days, Sam, and you played those tactics. He just admitted it himself. What an utter clown. He contradicted himself in his own press conference. Awesome. And whilst the simple game you played against Liverpool, where you basically praised your own tactics, gave yourself a pat on the back for the wonderful way that you performed and how everything went, it is worth remembering one thing. They lost the game 2-1, and you don't get much more simple than having to mark a goalkeeper who comes up for a corner in your own penalty box. I mean, how simple can you get? So Sam Allardyce, for the second time, you are, without a shadow of doubt, this week's Little Knob of the Week. Well deserved. He'll have a pint of wine to celebrate. He probably will, Ted. So are you back later for how old the reveal? No, I'm staying for the next bit. I'm going to help you out. What? Ted, staying for the next bit? Yeah, let's talk about these Premier League managers. It's a knockout. Ah, okay. Yeah, so, what now? I didn't even go to talk to you. You just looked at me. Okay, well, I'm sure I heard you speak. I'm not allowed to. I'm a mute teddy bear who can only talk through you. Okay, so the Premier League managers, it's a knockout, last 16. So over the last 2 weeks, we've run the polls for the last 16 ties. The category, if you remember, was who could put up the best shelf. So there was 8 ties. They've been voted on Twitter, they've been voted on Facebook, been bits on Instagram. So I think it's time we go through the results. So Ted, let's start. Mikel Arteta v Scotty Parker. So I can't remember who I went for. I think I went for Arteta. Just who won, Ted? No prizes for guessing if you went for Arteta. Yeah, Scotty Parker won. So you all thought Scotty Parker would put up the best shelf. So Scotty Parker, you are through to the quarterfinals. Congratulations, my friend. So the big one, the Ginger Derby, El Ginger Classico. David Moyes against Sean Dyche. It was a very difficult one to call. I went Moyes. Ted, who would you think winning? I know who won. Okay. Who won then, Ted? David Moyes. Easy. It wasn't easy. It was quite close, but David Moyes it was who got through. Dyche is out. So there you go, big shock. So Moyes and Parker, the first two in the quarterfinals. Dean Smith and Marcelo Bielsa. Now, I went against Marcelo. I did say I thought Dean Smith would put up a better shelf. Shows what you know. But no, it was categorical. It was a landslide win for Marcelo Bielsa. Of course it was. The man's a genius. Ted, don't. The non-Leeds fans will get upset. Well, he is. He's God. I know he's God, but you know, that's the way it is. Anyway, the Manchester Derby, Guardiola against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. How did that one go? Didn't the fans come on and stop the game? No, they didn't, Ted. That was Man United against Liverpool. Yeah, but you know what they're like. Anything for a bit of drama. Very true. So who won then, Ted? Pep. Yeah, Pep Guardiola was the winner. So Ole is out. So Pep goes through. Nuno Espirito Santo v Jurgen Klopp. Did Klopp moan? Of course he moaned. He moaned about the shelf not being straight. But he did win. So Jurgen Klopp is through. He's through to the quarterfinals. So despite everything we said about the fact he'd probably won extra subs and all sorts, he did win and he's through to the quarterfinals. Ralph Hasenhüttl against Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson. Ugh. That is not nice, Ted. He's an old man. Leave him alone. He got stuffed. Hasenhüttl smashed him. He did. Hasenhüttl won easy. Every poll that there was, he won it dead easy. So Big Ralph is through to the quarterfinals. Ryan the Child Mason against Steve Bruce. Ryan Mason's a child. He shouldn't be allowed to put up a shelf. Simple. And he lost. He did lose. Bruce won easy. No surprise there. Ryan Mason's about 12. There's no way he put a shelf up. Which just leaves us with Big Sam Allardyce, the recipient of this week's Little Knob of the Week award, against Brendan Rodgers, the man who won the FA Cup this week. So who put up the best shelf? Allardyce has had a shocker. Little Knob, shit shelf. Yes, he did have a shocker. Brendan Rodgers won. So your quarter-finalists are Scott Parker, David Moyes, Marcelo Bielsa, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Ralph Hasenhüttl, Steve Bruce, Brendan Rodgers. So next week for you, we will have the quarter-final draw, and we will also draw the next category to see how they will be competing in the quarter-finals. And no silly singing this week, no childish dances, it's very immature. You will not catch me or Ted doing any of that nonsense, will you, Ted? Boom, boom. There we go. Right, we'll see you later, Ted. You can come back later on. So, 4D. This is another bit that we haven't done for a few weeks. Time to hand out another 4D award. You know, it's the big budget part of the show. If you are new, let's explain how it works. So it's for someone who had an achievement in football in the last week or so, and they get what's called the 4Ds. So they get the first one with the very expensively assembled toilet roll holder. So 3. We put on the old Peaky Blinders cap and we doff it. 4D. So, in fact, let's leave the hat on for the this part of 4D. So this week's 4D. Shout out first of all to Alisson Becker, the Liverpool goalkeeper. His thumping header, having gone up for a corner into the net in a normal week, would have won him the 4D award. But I just can't give it to him this week. You'll see why, and I think you'll agree with me. But for his goal against West Brom, which also contributed to Big Sam winning Little Knob of the Week award, Alisson Becker, you can have 1D. I'll doff my cap to you, my friend. Great header, and the fact that it meant so much to him. You could see the tears in his eyes after he'd hugged Klopp, and he was obviously thinking about his dad who he'd just lost. So, yeah, well done, Alisson Becker. A well-deserved 1D. But let's go back to last Saturday, the FA Cup final, as Leicester ran out winners. Yeah, all celebrating in the stands, celebrating on the pitch. But what they did, they then turned to the director's box and sat there alone in his thoughts with tears in his eyes, clearly looking up to the heavens. The man, the Leicester owner, is affectionately known as Top, the club owner. You know, he was clearly in a nod to his dad, who sadly passed away in the helicopter crash. It meant so much to him, and to see him stood there, I mean, God, if ever you wanted to go up and hug a man, it was last Saturday. I just wanted someone to go and give the bloke a hug. He was clearly, visibly upset, but in the nicest possible way. He obviously just wanted his dad by his side to celebrate it. I'll give massive kudos to Top. So his dad, I'm sure you all know, but for those who don't know, his dad, who was the owner of Leicester, there was a helicopter crash outside the stadium, which his dad sadly passed away. It would have been very easy for Top to say, nah, I'm done with this. I can't be coming back to this stadium where I've got the memories of what happened to my dad. I just want to get up and go, and I don't want to see this stadium again. That would have been the easy thing to do. The difficult thing to do is what he did. He kept coming back and he kept coming back, and he stayed there, and he's tried to build on his dad's legacy. And Saturday's FA Cup final, the first time Leicester have ever won the FA Cup, momentous achievement. And you have to say, for Top, there was a man who really did deserve that little bit of joy in his life, and for nothing else, I was pleased for him, because he, you know, it clearly meant so much to him. And as much as it pains me to say, because I can't abide the man, Kasper Schmeichel, what a top man, because you did go out and get him out of the director's box and bring him down to join in the celebration. So Casper, for one day only, well done, but you're not winning the award. So Top, and I'm not going to insult you by trying to pronounce your full name because I'd be here all day, we'd have about 15 attempts and I'd still get it wrong. So Top, the Leicester City owner, Top, you are 4D, my friend. Well done, and a well-deserved FA Cup final victory. So, what haven't we heard for a little while? Yes, Tales of the Unexpected. It's been ages since we had one of these. So this is the part of the show where we travel the football world looking for odd or unusual stories. And this time we head to South America and the footballing giants of River Plate FC of Argentina. So, the Giants of River Plate, who are one of the big two in Argentina, alongside Boca Juniors, not to be confused with the Big Six in England. There's this week's dig. Off you trot to your Super League, go on. They were due to play Independiente Santa Fe of Colombia in the Copa Libertadores, the South American equivalent of the Champions League, which is not easy to say, trust me. Anyway, the Argentine camp was struck with COVID and injuries, and they had a bit of a nightmare, and the club found themselves with 4 goalkeepers, all unavailable. So, rightly so, they went to the Argentine FA and the South American FA and asked if they could sign an emergency goalkeeper for their Copa Libertadores match, and guess what? They said no, they weren't allowed to sign one. So, what did they do? Well, they put an outfield player in goal. Step forward midfielder Enzo Perez. He actually started the 2014 World Cup for Argentina, but this is the moment where he had to take on the gloves and play in goal for River Plate. So he asked for advice from the other goalkeepers. He was given some little tips to look out for, and he said that he used the penalty spot as his reference point. He had never ever played in goal, even as a child, and here he is playing in the biggest tournament in South American football in goal for River Plate, one of the giants of South American football. Guess what? They only bloody won. Yeah, River Plate won 2-1. And the only reason he didn't get a clean sheet is because the Colombians scored literally in the last 10 minutes to ruin his clean sheet. I mean, fair play to him, but let's just rewind. So they're one of the biggest teams in Argentina. They're playing in the biggest tournament in South America. Let's bring it to Europe. Let's imagine it's Liverpool or Manchester United. And let's imagine they're forced to play a midfielder in goal in the Champions League. Jesus Christ, do you think we'd ever hear the end of it? Nah. So Enzo Perez, kudos to you. Loved that story. Kudos to River Plate for playing the game. They would have forfeited, they'd have lost the points. So credit to them for playing the game and winning. And Enzo Perez retires as a goalkeeper. Played one, won one. So, after the excitement of Enzo Perez and his goalkeeping antics, let's kick back and relax with a musical guest. So earlier this week I caught up with solo musician and massive Wolves fan Sam Lambeth. He was a great lad. We had a good chat about his music. He does some amazing work for charity, which you'll hear about in the chat. He obviously picked his five-a-side team as always. A couple of little surprises in there. He caught me out with a couple, I must admit. At the end of the chat there will be a little clip of Sam in action, so stick around for that. And but yeah, for now, here's Zooming In with Sam Lambeth. Welcome to another episode of Zooming In. We got caught out then because there was a "this meeting is being recorded" message. I've never had that before. And I'm joined today by musician and big Wolves fan, Mr. Sam Lambeth. How are we, Sam?
I'm all good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Good stuff. Absolutely no problem at all, mate. We'll come on to your love of Wolves later. We've got plenty of questions lined up, and I'm sure you'll be expecting some West Brom questions thrown in because that's how we play this show. So we'll start with your music. There will be people out there who don't know about you, Sam, and what you do. So anyone that doesn't know your music, what can they expect when they listen to it for the first time?
I suppose it's kind of like rock music in the style of, Oasis, The Verve, that kind of sound. But I like to think there's something a bit different there as well, because I'm influenced by a lot of like solo artists, being a solo artist myself, obviously. So people like Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, Neil Young, that kind of vibe, that kind of vintagey feel. So I think the music that I make is kind of a mix really between that kind of Britpoppy rock music and more 70s, 60s kind of folk Americana.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a balance really. So I kind of make rock music, but I tried to make it a bit more expansive. So there's piano on there, there's mandolin, harmonica. So yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of it really.
Yeah, well, I mean, my little go-to thing, because of my lack of knowledge of music, is I always try and compare whoever I get on to somebody else, because that's my natural thing to do. And I had you down as a sort of a silkier, smooth version of Springsteen. So I'm glad you mentioned his name. I'd have looked a right idiot if you'd have read out a load of other names.
No, that's great. Yeah, but don't worry, I wasn't going to say anyone like Chico or Girls Aloud or something.
Chico, oh,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. For us, we're recording this on a Sunday lunchtime, so to pull Chico out the bag on a Sunday lunchtime, that's quite impressive going. So I've been listening this week, what is to a lot to When I'm With You, which is just a wicked, wicked tune. Your
Oh,
voice
thank you.
is silky, silky smooth. So, but I'm
Thanks, man.
intrigued with songwriters like yourself. So you're an individual artist. So when you sit down to write a song, I've never wrote a song in my life. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. Is it all really spontaneous, or do you sit down and say, right, today I'm writing a song?
I think there's a mix for me, but I would say it's more spontaneity, definitely. I think in the past I have sat down with the guitar and just said, you know what, I'm not leaving here until I get something written down, even if it's awful, just to try and break through, you know, and get some kind of semblance of a song. But more often than not, I don't try to force it really.
Yeah.
It just comes randomly. It's like I find crazily that when I walk the dog, I just sometimes I'll just get like a little melody in my head or a little lyric that comes out, it seems to come out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden I have to think, right, I need to try and remember this now. So when I get home, I can sit down with the guitar and start fleshing something out. But yeah, it does tend to be more spontaneous rather than regimented, if that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, no.
I practice a lot, so I don't just rely on kind of the magic of it, if that makes sense. But in terms of writing a song, I try my best not to force it. I just kind of wait for the muse to strike.
Yeah.
Oh, that don't sound too pretentious, but you know what
No,
I mean.
no, no. I was just really intrigued. I've now got an image of you when you're out with your mates having a few beers and you're sneaking off to the toilet with a voice note to record something that you've suddenly seen. It's giving you it's
It's
giving you
happened
some
before, I
genius
think. Yeah.
idea. So you've also currently got a limited edition CD up for grabs, Sam Lambeth and the Endangered Species, with proceeds to WWF. How did that all come about?
It's a cause I've been passionate about for a while, and since I launched my solo career last autumn, where I can, I've kind of donated bits and bobs and tried to do different things with it. So like You and Me, that was my second single, and that got when that hit 23,000 streams after a month, which obviously I was blown away by. I planted 23 trees, and then with When Love Ain't Enough, my first single, the proceeds I made, I donated to WWF, and I just really liked it. And I think I've been really, really lucky in my life that I just get to play music, and luckily so far people have listened and seem to like it, and people have been so supportive and stuff. I kind of feel like I want to give a bit back just to show my appreciation, really. And this is a charity I've always been passionate about, so I kind of made it my focal point. And when it came to talking, you know, when it came to thinking about a physical release, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool maybe to do something a little bit different? So not just release the EP, but maybe do something more unique and limited edition and totally individual. And that's kind of where the wheels started turning by doing this Sam Lambert and the endangered species thing. And originally I was going to do t-shirts. That was the
Yeah.
original idea, but it was a bit. It was a lot of a lot of hassle really, and a lot of cost involved. And I wanted to try and keep the cost down as best as I could. And there's a great artist who's designed these, Karen Sonner, and she does animal drawings. And I said to her, "Would you be up for this idea where I create these CD sleeves and they're all kind of unique, and they've all got an endangered animal on, and the money goes to WWF, and luckily she was up for that. And that's kind of where it began, really. And I think I wasn't going to go down the CD route at all. I mean, I wanted to go down the vinyl route, but again, it was just too expensive. But I was quite surprised when I was on social media that CDs were still quite popular. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of that compilation called Brits and Pieces. I'm sure you might hear from it from another artist you have on.
Yeah.
That's been like a CD compilation, and they've had 2 editions over the past 2 years, and that's been filled with unsigned bands, and they sell really, really well. And so there's obviously surprisingly still a market for CDs. So that kind of said to me, you know what, let's go down the CD route. And and I've been really blown away so far by how many people have purchased it. It was amazing because when I announced it on it was the Friday just gone. I was quite busy that day because I've just bought a house, and that's kind of kicking in. And I wasn't really on my phone, but every 5 minutes I seem to be getting like a little notification on Google saying when someone buys someone off Bandcamp, it comes up cha-ching. So every 5 minutes I saw this cha-ching, 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 and I was like, oh my God. So I've just been blown away by it so far. But yeah, it was just a chance to get my music out there. And not just the new record, to get some of my older stuff out there too. Because I wanted to give people more bang for the buck, if that makes sense. If I charge 10 quid, there's 14 songs, so plenty of music on it. It's hand drawn, unique. I've signed it. It's got a a number on it as well, and it goes to WWF. And I thought hopefully people will like that. It goes to a good cause, and it still gets my music out there, so it's kind of a win-win for me.
Yeah,
really.
no, it's a fab gesture, and respect to you for doing it. And I don't like to give a shout out to another band when you're on here, talking about yourself, but the boys from Senses who were on this show going back 2 or 3 months ago, they actually bought one, but they didn't want the CD because they don't use CDs or listen to CDs anymore, and have said that you just to send it to somebody who's a little bit less fortunate than them, who hasn't got the money to buy one, so that you still got the proceeds for WWF as well. So shout out to the Senses boys as well for that gesture.
Yeah, 100%. Amazing band. I first discovered them a couple of months back. They sent me their single to review, and I was blown away by it. Just amazing melodies, amazing sound. But more than that, like you say, not just a great band, but fantastic fellas as well. And they're quite local to me in Coventry.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping in the future we'll be able to do a gig together somewhere. So yeah, again, massive props to them, but massive props to everyone that's bought one so far. I think it's amazing, and it's not easy, obviously, because everyone pays bills, and there's not people don't have much disposable income. So I really, really appreciate the people that have paid money towards it. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, spot on, mate. And if you can do a gig with Senses, that will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I can come and have a beer with both of you. I don't have to do 2 individual drinking sessions.
Yeah, I'm really hoping. Yeah, I mean, I'm in dialogue with so many different bands, and we all keep saying the same thing. Let's do a gig. Let's do a festival. Let's go here. Let's go there. So I'm hoping some of them will come to fruition. Definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. So moving on to your love of football and your love of the mighty Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. So if I'd said to you 10 years ago, you're going to be taken over, you're going to have millions thrown at you, you're going to have some Portuguese superstars playing for you, you're going to absolutely piss the Championship and win it by miles, go in the Premier League, have a run in Europe. I mean, you'd have laughed at me, wouldn't you, 10 years ago?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, I've always kind of known that Wolves are a big club with a lot of history and heritage and a big following. So I did feel we belonged in either the upper echelons of the Championship or in the Prem, but to be able to be sustainable in the Prem, to be pushing for Europe consistently, and to have been in Europe in my lifetime, no way would I have expected that at all. I would have kind of expected, because obviously 10 years ago was our last season with Mick McCarthy, so we were kind of going down, and then we went even further down into League One, and luckily the rebuild started. But now I anticipated a team that maybe would be a bit like West Brom, I suppose, that would kind of yo-yo between the Championship and the Prem.
Yeah, I mean, the year you came out of the Championship, I mean, I think obviously as a Leeds fan, I thought last season we were fantastic winning the champion. But you guys, you set the early benchmark of how to romp the championship. I mean, you absolutely just blew everybody away. It was almost too easy to a certain extent for the championship, which is, there'll be supporters of clubs in here who've never been in the championship. It's a brutal division. Let's face it.
Yeah, it is. It is tough. I mean, there's some teams that play really, really nice football, but then there's also some teams that just will try and bully you and make it difficult to play. And I think we found different ways of dealing with that as the season went on. Because I think there was a period where we were starting to grind out results, 1-0 here, 1-0 there. And for me, that's always the sign of a really good team that's destined for promotion, when they can, like you say, play with real flair and panache and get those amazing 4-0, 4-2 victories. But then you also have to have those periods where you have to grind out wins and keep clean sheets.
Yeah, definitely. A crappy 1-0 win away at somebody that you should be thrashing, but they're the best ones. You've been battered for 90 minutes and you score an injury time to win the game. They're the ones we all love, let's be honest. So your favourite ever Wolves player, not necessarily the best one you've ever seen, or just the one, if you was in the playground today, who would you want to be?
I'm not sure. That's a tough one. You've put me on the spot now. I really liked players like I really like Kevin Doyle because he worked really hard, and he put his body on the line a lot. I like Jody Craddock for the same reason. There was a player called Nenad Milias who I loved for his technical ability. To be honest, I'm not sure who I would say. I would probably go for Ruben Neves, I think, because that season in the Championship, he did some amazing things and scored some amazing goals. So, yeah, I'll go for him.
Yeah, he's a special talent in the Championship. I mean, he's been special in the Premier League, but in the Championship, he was levels above everybody else, it's fair to say. So, on the flip side, the worst player you've seen in your time of watching Wolves?
This plays into my... You know what? Maybe this says something about me as a person, because I find it so much easier to think of someone I thought was terrible than someone who was good. I'd easily have to say Jake Cassidy by a country mile. He was shocking. Honestly, he was truly terrible. I don't know if you know much about him, but he was a young lad. So obviously, I know I'm being a bit harsh, but he went on loan to Tranmere, who were in League One, and he scored quite a lot of goals, did quite well. And then we recalled him in the January when we were in the Championship. And it was and that was the season we went down from the Championship under Dean Saunders. And it was one of them where you watched him and he was like, you know what, he'll get better. And the next game it was like, yeah, he might get better. And after 10 games, you're like, he ain't going to get better. And then in League One, we kept playing him up front. And there was a period over the Christmas in League One where we were dropping points. Like we lost to Gillingham. I think we drew to like Carlisle and Notts County, and we started. Yeah, we were still like third or fourth, but we were starting to have a bit of a wobble. And I generally think it was because for some reason we started playing Jake Cassidy up front. And I mean, he didn't score once for Wolves. I think he played 25, 26 games, and he never even looked like scoring. So there's been some bad players, but for me, he was the worst, definitely.
Yeah, it's funny you should say what you said earlier, because when I ask the same question to everyone, they struggle to think of the best one, but we always come up with a worse one really quickly.
Yeah.
So either or. So they're never nice, they're never kind, but you have to choose one of them. So I'm going to give you two. Well, the first one's not to do with West Brom. The first one's to do just solely with you. So you get no Portuguese players for the next 5 seasons. You get relegated, but you then get a team full of homegrown players who get you promoted again. Or you stay as is and you finish mid-table Premier League, quite happy bringing in decent players, but a mid-table Premier League side.
I'd probably pick the first one then, because I think being a Wolves fan, it's never boring, really. There's ups and downs, and it's been like a roller coaster for as long as I've been, as long as I've been like a committed fan, there was a couple, but there was like a couple of seasons when Steve Morgan put the club up for sale, and we were waiting, and before Fosun purchased it, where we became a mid-table championship side, and we finished like 14th, 15th, and it was just boring because there was no incentive to go and watch
Yeah.
really, because we weren't pushing for the playoffs, but we were in no danger of going down. So it was dull, and I think there's been times this season where it's been a bit boring because we're kind of in mid-table, we're not really challenging for Europe, and but we're not going down. So yeah, you know what? It's a brave choice, but I probably would go for the first one because I think you'd have short-term pain for long-term gain, really.
Yeah. And a second season, winning promotion with a team full of homegrown players would be pretty special.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, you'd have that talent and you'd have some great homegrown players, but at the same time, thinking from a business point of view, you'd have these amazing English or British players that will command a really hefty fee.
Selling them on already.
Well, I just know that, you look at players these days that are young and English and good,
Yeah.
and you have to spend so much money. I mean, like I was talking to my friends the other day, and I said maybe a good signing next season would be Tammy Abraham because he ain't really had a look in at Chelsea, but I really rate him and I think he does a good job in the Prem. But you're probably going to be looking at least 40 million, maybe 50 million, and you think, I think maybe the fact he's a young English star that will probably become an England international, that bumps the fee up a bit.
Yeah, it's insane, isn't it? Really, for a bloke who can't, he's struggling to get. He is decent, and but he just can't get in that Chelsea side for whatever reason. And like you say, they're still going to want 35, 40 million to sell him. It's madness. But so this one's a little bit more tricky. So Lee Hughes goes into football management. He gets the Wolves job, and he wins you the FA Cup. Do you sing his name?
No way. I mean, it would never happen. I generally don't think. To be honest with you, I would. I don't. Well, I wouldn't stop supporting Wolves, but I wouldn't judge it. I wouldn't judge them very well, considering his criminal record. I don't think he should be allowed to play any kind of football, really. So no, definitely not.
I did toy with putting somebody else in, but I thought Lee Hughes was obviously one that you boys love greatly. So they'll five-a-side tee them, Sam. So it's usual rules: one goalkeeper, one defender, two midfielders, and a striker. The only rules are you have to have seen them play live and in the flesh, and that is it. So let's start with your goalkeeper. Who are you going for between the sticks?
See, I was gutted because I was going to have a fly keeper. I was just going to pick an outfield player that couldn't come back. Yeah, I found the goalkeeper one quite tough because I couldn't really think of anyone that really stood out to me. So I actually went for a Wolves player, and I went for Rui Patricio.
Yeah.
Because his distribution isn't great. His kicking, for example, but you know what? That ain't going to be a problem on a five-a-side pitch, is it? Because he'll probably just do some short throw-ins and stuff. But I think his shot stopping is fantastic. That's one of his best attributes. So I think on playing five-a-side, I think Patricio will be amazing at that. Some, closing down, the tight angles, stuff like that. So yeah, I went for Patricio. I mean, he's one of the players I've seen the most of. I've seen a lot of him, seen a lot of Carly Kamey, seen a little bit of Wayne Hennessy, but I think Patricio is the best one I've seen frequently.
No, good shout. Yeah, I like him. I've always liked him, and I thought he's been really good for you guys. And like you say, shot stopping, he's top draw. He's got an annoying habit of being in the right place at the right time if you're playing against him. So your defender playing in front of Rui then?
This was easy. Actually, this was easy. I went for Virgil Van Dyke.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I saw him. I think it was last season when we played Liverpool at Molineux, and again, just fantastic. And I think for a five-a-side team, if you only having one defender that can kind of cover the different sides of the pitch, be quick, be alert, but also be a great defender. I just think he ticks all the boxes. I just think his fitness, his speed, his awareness, his vision, just the complete defender for me, and he's one of the best defenders I've ever seen. So it was an easy one for me.
He is. I mean, unsurprisingly, you're not the first person that's chosen him. The two Liverpool fans have been on here, both picked him. The Celtic lads picked him. You've picked him. I don't think you'll be the last. I don't. I think he is just a colossus of a man, and you've just got to look at Liverpool's defence this year. Without him in it, it has definitely made a difference. And no matter what anybody says, as amusing as Liverpool's fall from grace has been, there's no two ways about it. Missing him has been a huge. I think that has impacted on him a lot more than they probably realise. I know they know, but it's a huge hole. So the first of your midfielders.
Again, quite an easy one because I knew I was only having the one defender. I wanted a midfielder that could cover a lot of ground and be great defensively as well as attacking. Because obviously when you do five-a-side, it's a bit of a free-fall, isn't it? You're up, down, up, down, up, down. So I went for N'Golo Kante, who I saw when Wolves played Chelsea. Again, just fantastic performer. Covers so much ground. His tackling, his passing, his energy. I mean, if you're a five-a-side team, you'd kill for a player like that. So, again, that was a nice and easy one.
He's an absolute machine, isn't he? His fitness levels are incredible. I mean, we watched him yesterday. And, okay, they lost, but the amount of ground the man covers. And he's only like 5'6". There's nothing of him, and he just gets around so quickly. And I think it says a lot of him that, he left Leicester and went to Chelsea, and they still really gets a decent reception from the Leicester fans. They got not a bad word to say about him.
Definitely, and he's still such a kind of, obviously Chelsea have seen a few managers over Kante's tenure, and he's still very much a prominent part of that team as well. So I think it shows just how good he is, really. And what a find he was as well, because obviously I don't think anyone really knew him until Leicester signed him. I mean, I certainly didn't know him, and that first season with Leicester, he was just superb. It was like having two players on the pitch, basically.
Yeah, well, we said it's funny because I had a guy on here who was a Leicester fan, did the same thing, and we spoke about the year they won the league. And I said to him, if Kante had got injured, would you have won the league? And his first response instantly was no. Absolutely not. He said he was that important. He said if you took him out of the side, no way we win the league. He said because he just did so much for the team. But and apparently a very, very nice bloke as well, by all accounts. So it makes it even better. So somebody that doesn't have to do any running then, because he's got Kante doing all his running, who's going to be playing alongside him?
Well, I wanted to pick a Barcelona player because I watched them at the new camp about 8 years ago. And I was toying between. I was going to go for Messi, but when I saw him that day, he went fantastic. But then he didn't have to be because they were playing Getafe, who were like bottom of the league, and so they didn't really have to turn it on much. Yeah. But the player that stood out for me was Iniesta. Yeah, I just thought he was superb. Again, just his technical abilities, creativity, just a cut above really, and just blown away by his performance, really.
Yeah, his touch and his vision is unbelievable. I mean, his touch buys him 5 yards every single time. And he was just, I mean, that Spain side that obviously won the World Cup and the Euros, he was just fantastic, wasn't he? I mean, his distribution was unbelievable. And he didn't look like he had any pace. He didn't look like he could particularly tackle. He didn't score many goals, but I mean, what a player.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you give all the negatives, you think, how is he so good? But, he genuinely is that good. And he's him and Xavi together were just brilliant. And again, another very short player alongside Kante. So for a small man like myself, I'm all up for these short players in teams.
I've got quite a short team, haven't I? I'm just starting to realise this now.
To be fair, you've got Virgil. I mean, he makes up for those two.
Yeah, maybe there's method in my madness because obviously when you play five-a-side, doesn't it have to be like you can only be a certain height anyway?
Good thinking. So, who's going to be on the receiving end of all these wonderful passes and just finishing?
This was tough as well, but I actually went for Sterling.
Okay.
I just think again because his energy, he can kind of drift onto the left or right wing, but he can also stay central. He's clinical. He's got a lot of pace and energy. When I saw him, I mean, I saw him when Wolves played Man City and we drew, and Bolly scored that controversial goal
Yeah,
that would have been ruled out now.
yeah,
But yeah, he was fantastic. I've always been a fan of his. I mean, when he was at Liverpool, and he was a bit more raw, wasn't he? I kind of felt that season
yeah.
when Liverpool almost clinched it, he was still a bit of a rough diamond. And I think maybe Suarez was kind of guiding him, But I think since he's been at City, and he's been at City for a long time now, he's just a fantastic performer with everything in the bag. And I think for my forward player, I just think he'll be able to kind of go around the different angles and kind of be receptive and quick and clinical as well. So yeah, I went for Sterling.
I see you've gone down the coaching angle as well there, Sam, as well. There's been none of this, just throw your best five in. You've thought about this, seriously.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? All week, I've been thinking about it, and I did another podcast the other day where I had to pick my best 11.
Yeah.
It didn't. I didn't have to see them. It was the best 11 of all time in the Premier League, and it was different players to today.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just because I hadn't seen some of the other ones. It was because I was like different dynamic, five-a-side, different way of playing. But I've had debates all week with my friends on my WhatsApp chats about this. So one day we were all picking our best 11, then over the last couple of days we've all picked our best five-a-side that we've seen. So yeah, a lot of thought's gone into it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. No, I love it when people have put the thought in and then go down the coaching route with it as well. It's even better. I do love that. I had the doctor on from Doctor and the Medics, and even he went down the coaching route as well. He didn't. There was none of this just throwing his best together. How close was Raul Jimenez to getting him?
Yeah, very, very. Again, I mean, there's so many great Wolves players, and because obviously I've seen the Wolves players more than any other team, I know which players are consistent and which players kind of carry the others. So I'm kind of aware of them on a regular basis more than the other players.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jimenez was really close, and I almost went for Cody at the back, and I almost went for Martinho in the middle. It could have easily picked five Wolves players, but I thought I'll just be fair and just pick one. And with goalkeepers, I thought, you know what, I want to pick a goalkeeper that I've seen a lot of, not just a goalkeeper I've seen once. So that's why I went for Patricio.
And with Jimenez, just for those of us who aren't around the Wolverhampton area or don't hear much about him, obviously he had the horror injury at the sort of turn of the year. How is he? Is he likely to be back playing again anytime soon, or is it a long way off?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've heard different things. I've heard that he started training again now, and he's heading the ball again, which was the last kind of piece of the puzzle. I've heard that he's going to be available for pre-season, and then I've heard he might be going away with Mexico. So a lot of conflicting things, really.
Yeah.
But I think the kind of general consensus is that he'll definitely be playing again soon. Right, and when it happened, I was kind of pessimistic because I was kind of thinking of when Ryan Mason had that injury, for example. Yeah, same. And he obviously never came back, and I kind of braced myself and thought, well, first and foremost, let's hope he recovers. But I couldn't, I wasn't very positive that he would come back. So I think it's just nice to know that next season he'll be back. And I mean, my only concern is really how good will he be? I mean, will he come back and hit the ground running? Will it take some time? Or will he not be the same player he was before? Because I remember not the same injury at all, but I remember when we had Niwadiko, he was a striker who kind of propelled us out of League One. Then he scored like 14 or 15 goals in the Championship. Then a few games into the next season, he got a bad cruise ship, was out for the season. He came back, and he was never the same player. And I don't think he's ever been the same player for anyone else either. So I worry sometimes will that be a similar thing with Jimenez? But no, I think I'm positive he'll come back, and I'm positive he'll make a difference.
These Mexican lads are made of tough stuff, mine, aren't they? I'm sure he'll be fine.
That's true.
They're tough cookies. So last but not least, just flicking back to your music, Sam, I have read that you are doing a gig in Manchester in November with a couple of friends of the show, the boys from Lost Lines, you're going to be there with, and some guys I've got coming up very soon, the boys from Vela Incident. They're actually coming on the show in a couple of, on the next week or the week after. So how much are you looking forward to getting out and performing again?
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, for me, I haven't gigged consistently since 2017 because kind of 2018 my band split up, so we only did a few gigs, and then I did one gig in 2019, and that was it. And I haven't gigged regularly for 4 years, so I'm absolutely chomping at the bit to get out there now, and got some great gigs lined up. Some, like I say, there's been some talks behind the scenes of some gigs here and there, and I've sent some emails out to venues across the country just saying, you know, I'm here, I'm available, and yeah, can't wait. The Manchester one should be really special because Listen Up Music have organised it, and they're really great guys, and they do a great podcast, and they just support bands and artists really well. And yeah, Villa Instant are a great band, and they were one of the first bands I kind of followed on Twitter when I joined it, and they're kind of, for me, I learned a lot from them in terms of how they interact with people, and obviously they produce great music, and I'm really glad that I've kind of got to know them a little bit. And same with Lost Line as well. Really nice to kind of catch up with them and chat to them and hear their music, and they all seem really nice, and it's going to put me at ease really, because I kind of know that when I do the gig in November, it will kind of be like meeting up with friends really, so that's going to be nice. And it's a full band show for me as well, because I've got a fair few gigs coming up, but some are acoustic and solo, and some are full band, but this one's going to be a full band show. So, and I've got such a great live band now. We've been rehearsing every week, and they're amazing. They sound great, and I mean they're making me sound good. So they must be fantastic. So I can't wait to get on stage with them and play. And they've all booked the weekends off, and we're gonna make a weekend of it. So I can't wait.
Oh, no, good stuff. Well, at the end, when we finish this clip, there will be a clip of Sam performing. There is no band. It's just Sam and a guitar. So you can see then he's lying. And the man has got a cracking voice. And honestly, yeah, don't you go knocking yourself and saying it's all down to your band either. Oh, I think we might have lost Sam at the most inopportune moment. Oh, are you back?
I think I am. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we got you back, Sam. That was almost the first.
Sorry, I don't know what happened then.
Zooming in fail. I can either edit it and make that look professional, or I'll just leave it in because that's how I do things and just leave it in. So, but last but not least, Sam, thank you so much, guys. Anyone watching this, head on over to Sam's Twitter handle. You can find the link for the CDs, money to a good cause, as well as getting a CD with some cracking music on it. You can download his music from any of the usual channels. As I say, when any musician's on here, if you can spare some money to download some of their music, it means an awful lot to them. They're giving up a lot of their own time to do this. I know they love doing it, but genuinely, for the sake of one click on your phone, and you'll get some enjoyment out of it as well, listening to the music. And yeah, you've been great, Sam. Thank you very much for coming on, mate. It's been much appreciated. And as we close out, there will be a clip of Sam performing with no band, just Sam, just a guitar, sounding spot on. So thank you so much, Sam, and back to the show.
Thanks so much, mate. Honestly, really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
The corridors of discontent that I've been traveling on the lonely search for truth. The world's so frightening, nothing's going right today, 'cause nothing ever does. Ooh, I don't wanna know your secrets. Ooh, lie heavy on my head. Let's break the night with color. Time for me to move ahead.
So there we go then. That was Sam. So be sure to go and download his music. If you want to order one of his CDs, you can find him on the Twitter line. You'll get his CDs through there. It's all for a good cause. So if you can support Sam with that, please do so. Next week, I'm going to be joined by two members of the band, Vela Incident, or Vela Incident. We'll have to find out how it's actually pronounced. I think it's Vela. If you think we had some fun in the past, get this. I have from Vella Incident 1 Swansea fan, 1 Cardiff fan. This will be good. So yeah, we're going to have some fun. I think we might even have to segregate the Zoom so that they can't get at each other. But yeah, loving the fact we're going to have a Cardiff and a Swansea fan. I'm going to have some massive fun. I might even wear a Newport shirt just for the laugh. So yeah, we look forward to that one next week. So the lineal European competitions then, and I bring you sad news. Our little mates from Mainz have been dethroned. They were beaten last week. They lost 3-1 to Borussia Dortmund, so the trophy's gone. The Yellow and Black Army now will defend the Lineal European Cup against Bayer Leverkusen on Saturday. So good luck to Dortmund as they look to continue the trophy. As you know, the Lineal UEFA Cup is where we have a little bit of fun with the names and make a little bit of a joke about things. And our old mate Susanna Hoffenheim, she's only gone and done it again. So she'd gone and got a 1-1 draw away at Arminia Bangals. Yeah, okay. So it was Arminia Bielefeld. But to be honest with you, I could come up with nothing for Arminia Bielefeld other than Arminia Bangals. The crunch of it is, Susanna Hoffenheim defended the trophy. And this week, they defend the trophy against Hertha Berlin. Now, if only there was an 80s band called Berlin. That would take my breath away, that would. See what happens. Time for How Old the Reveal, which can only mean our mate is back for the 3rd time today. Who are you throwing about? I didn't throw you, I helped you across. I've got legs. I know you've got legs, but it's still, you know, it's quite high up. Says you, Mr. Lanky. Okay, anyway, Ted, it's time for How Old the Reveal. One thing, really, before you start, that picture looks quite recent. Well, Ted, I've got a confession to make. That photo of how old was taken last weekend. Why have I been looking at footballers of the 70s, 80s and 90s all week and you go and bloody choose one from last weekend? I didn't. Kian chose it and he sent it me, said it would be good for how old, and I agreed. I like Kian, but tell him he's an idiot. I like, you know, the older ones. He's now tricking me with these ones. Well, you know, that's just the way it is. It's a bit rude, Ted. You know, let's see how the public got on. Jenny from Abergavenny. Not that shit again. You didn't even say it properly either. If you're going to do a gag, do it properly. Okay, Ted, I was just making sure you were awake. So, Gary from Barry. Nah, he's not 36 and he's not Attilio Lombardo. Christ, Reedy, what is wrong with these people? This segment is called How Old, not What's His Name. I know, Ted, even I'm at a loss. Anyway, Tracy from Wells Next to the Sea. Hang on, isn't that Guess? No, Ted, she doesn't live at Wells Next to the Sea. She lives downstairs. Who stole the 2? 2, Ted? What are you on about, the 2? Reedy, it should be called Wells Next to the Sea, not Wells Next to the Sea. I agree, and the signs everywhere say Wells Next to the Sea. I think someone's nicked all the 2s. Idiots. I agree again. Idiots. Should be Wells Next to the Sea. Anyway, what's your guess? 25. 25? So when this photo of Henning Matriziani was taken, he was 21 years old. 21. He actually came on as a substitute last weekend for Schalke. That was him making his debut. I thought he was coming on in like a testimonial and he was like 45 years old and one of the dads of one of the players or something. That was him making his debut at 21 years old. Bloody hell, Reedy, did he climb mountains to get to school? Ted, I know. Anyway, my friend, we will see you next weekend. 40 shows done, Ted. Can you believe it? God knows how you fill this stuff every week. See you next week. Yeah, try, Ted. Yeah, so there we go. So, Guess v Knowledge. Right, wait for it. Wait for it. The score, Guess 16, Knowledge 16. Just call me the comeback kid. Yes, so only a few weeks ago the despair of being 16-11 down has all disappeared into the past. It's now level pegging as we head into the climax to the season. I think we've probably got about another 2 or 3 weeks of this with playoff games, etc. So we'll squeeze a little bit out to the end, but it's 16 all. Last week we had the cup final and when Chelsea bundled the ball home, it looked like Guess had snatched a point and I was going to be 2 behind. but VAR disallowed it and the point came my way because I called Leicester winning it, so take it to 16-all. So this week Sam chose the game and he went for the match involving his beloved Wolves as they entertained Man United. Fair play to Sam, he even stuck his head above the parapet and predicted a result. He's gone for Wolves winning 1-0. I asked Guest for her prediction and all I got back was 2-1 Man United. Nothing else, no comments, no insight, no logic, just to the point, 2-1. Somebody's rattled with the comeback. So now I'm feeling confident. I'm on such a charge. There's just one small point. I'd bloody wrote down 2-1 Man United. So I've had to change it. I can't see Man United not winning. I think they're too strong. They've been good away from home. So I do think they'll win at Wolves. I was going to go 2-1. She's done me with that big time by going for 2-1. So I'm going to go for 2-0 Man United. I'm going to go from keeping a clean sheet and picking up the 3 points. But we'll see how that develops over the weekend. So there we have it, another show completed yet again. I hope you all enjoyed this week's offering. I enjoyed it. It was good fun this weekend. A lot of good little bits and pieces. Please feel free to comment below. Do like seeing your comments. I'd love to, any questions you've got, anything you'd like to see in the show, anything you want to see more of, anything you want to see less of, just put it in below. Don't forget to give me one of those. Give me the old likes because it massages me ego and it massages me very long hair on top of me baldy head. I need to get that shaved again. I realise when I say long hair, it's not really that long, is it? Let's be honest. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please come back again next week. But for now, it's ding ding. Next stop, Saturday the 30th of May for what will be episode 41. And guys, as always, please stay safe and see you next week.